You are listening to Latinx America, a podcast focused on highlighting catalysts who are using, leveraging, or creating technology to help our community achieve more. With your host, Adriana Flores Ragade.
Thanks for listening to Latinx America. Our guest today is Hugo Castellanos. He is a product marketing manager at Intel Corporation, an engineer by training, and the host of Conexiones, Historias de Latinos in STEM. Hugo is committed to advancing our community and is really currently working on sharing stories of other Latinx in tech, just like I am, but his podcast is currently in Spanish. I strongly believe that it's really important for Latinos to work together and support each other's efforts, even if they are seen as competing efforts by others, because only by working together we will be able to increase our reach and scale our impact. So let's move on to our interview and let's get to know Hugo a little bit more during today's conversation. Hugo, thanks for joining us this morning in Latinx America. It's great to have you. I've interacted with you I've listened to your podcast too, so I'm excited to have you as part of Latinx America. And the fact that you are an engineer or you're in tech makes a big difference in terms of also the content that you're able to produce. So why don't we start by learning about you? You're used to being on the other end and interviewing people. So let's talk about your journey into tech.
Well, Adriana, first of all, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate this opportunity. And thank you for building this Latinx America community, because I also listen to your podcast and I just love your style and how you focus on the personal journey. So thank you for inviting me. So I'm actually a musician turned electrical engineer turned product marketing manager. I actually went to school first for sound engineering back home in Florida. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, but moved with my family to Florida when I was a kid, when I was only 12 years old. And I love that intersection of music and technology and how you can use technology to make music and make sound better. So I got my degree back in 2008, and I started working in a recording studio in Orlando. And one of my mentors at the time, the Professor Raul Valeri, so that I was really passionate about electronics and how do things work, how are all these amplifiers and sound effect machines put together. So he mentored me. He saw that I had a knack for it. So he told me, Hugo, maybe you should consider electrical engineering. And at the time I was like, why not? So I started taking classes at UCF, University of Central Florida, and eventually I got my degree back in 2011. And my thing was all analog electronics. I was really geeky about analog electronics, transistors, amplifiers, all that sort of thing. I remember that I actually bought a domain, strictlyanalog.com. My email in college was hugo@strictlyanalog.com. So fast forward 2012, Intel calls me. Hey, Hugo, we're looking for analog engineers. Would you be interested in an interview?
Wow.
And at the time, I'm like, what am I going to do at Intel? I just want to build sound amplifiers. And I landed a co-op in Sacramento, California, back in 2012. So I packed my Nissan Sentra with all my things, couple bags, my bass guitar, my music collection, and made a road trip out here to California and fell in love with the culture at Intel. And I've gone through different roles at Intel. So I became an analog design engineer, and I fell in love with the culture, my team. But I realized that being in a cube, designing circuits all day, wasn't really something that was. It was attractive, but my thing is the people. My thing is that, okay, who are the people using this product? Because I used to work in the memory product division, and in the staff meetings, I was always asking questions like, wait, who are going to use these SSD drive we're building? What do they look like? What do they like to listen to? How do they use it? And my boss at the time said, Hugo, that's a marketing question. Like we're here to just build this and we don't care. After we build it, it runs, it works. We don't care about that. But he was that's my other one of my mentors, Matthew Daly. He actually saw in me that I was really passionate about presenting my ideas and talking with people, listening to people, building those relationships. And he recommended me for a sales and marketing rotation program here at Intel, where we take electrical engineers, computer scientists, and we teach them how to be field application engineers. So we are in the intersection of the customers and the technology. And right now, I work as a technical product marketing manager at Intel. And what I do is that I give marketing and salespeople the tools they need to tell the stories about our products. So CPUs specifically. So why should you buy this? What's the benefit of getting this? So I have an engineering background, so that really helps because I really understand the products at a deep technical level,
Mhm.
and I'm able to convey in a simple storytelling manner why should you buy this. So I found my niche and I'm in love with it. I've been in the Bay Area for 3 years now, and I love it. I'm gonna be here for a while.
Well, that's a good thing, and you're a great communicator. So it's great that you're able to combine your technical skills with your marketing skills, because those are marketing skills what you're using,
Thank you.
and product development skills. But you're also a podcaster, so you're a full-time tech person, and in your spare time, and I'm not sure how much spare time you have, but you
Not
are
enough.
you're a podcaster. So tell us about what you're doing and why you also follow that passion of actually building your own podcast.
Thank you for asking that. It's as podcasting takes a lot of time. The
Mhm,
editing, booking guests, making that calendar for your recordings and all those things. So it does take time. I actually did the math on how much time I invest per episode, and it's comes around 9 hours per
mhm,
episode. That's why I only do mine bi-weekly. It's called Conexiones. And the way that I got into podcasting is that I love listening to podcasts. I love audio. Uh, if you ask my friends, I'm the friend that's always walking around the house with headphones on. I'm always listening to an audiobook or a podcast. And here in the Bay Area, so I'm part of this national organization called SHEP, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. We are a nonprofit that aims to connect the Hispanic community with the tech companies to solve that problem of the leaky pipeline of talent.
mhm,
So I'm a volunteer and I host workshops around public speaking, communications, networking, how to tell your story, how to find out what you're really good at, all those kind of soft skills workshops. So I looked at podcasting as a way of doing mentorship at scale. Because if I do a workshop or have a one on one conversation, an informational interview with a professional from Apple, Google, Facebook, that's amazing. That's great. I get a lot of value out of it. But what happens if I record that informational interview
mhm,
and I ask a product manager from Apple, hey, so what does a product manager really do every day? What does your week look like? When do you know you're done? Can you tell me your challenges that you face when working with teams? Can you tell me the product you're the proudest of? And I find that through Conexiones, my podcast, I find that people are able to get that example of, hey, that person has a Latino last name and it's at Apple, at Google. Wait, so that means that I can be there too. Most of
mhm,
my audience are young professionals and college students. And amazingly, a lot of my audience, I ran a survey in my audience, and around 65% of them are women or Latinas that are interested in working in STEM or are within STEM. So that was a very pleasant surprise, the fact that I'm reaching that audience. So my aim is to show the young professionals that listen to it that it's possible. You can work in tech as well, and there are some really interesting people that are here in the Bay Area. So I see myself as a collector of stories, if you will. And my aim is always to connect that young professional, that Latino, Latina young professional to STEM via podcasting.
Thank you, Hugo. So you mentioned that you want to do something about the leaky pipeline. What do you think we as a community can do more to increase, diversity in tech, just based on your personal journey and also that of those that you've had a chance to interview that are working in those companies, and obviously those companies are doing good things because they're retaining them, right?
Yes. I find that so there's two things here. So the first thing is that we need to get to the students as early as possible. That's why with SHEP, with the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, we have outreach programs for K through 12 students. And I find that that's one pillar that we need to take care of. Now, what happens is that when I focus mostly in college students because I've been doing workshops for SHEP for the last I've been a SHEP member for the last 10 years, and I've been a lifetime member since 2011. So I've been doing workshops pretty much quarterly, at least one or two a quarter, to college students, and they need to know that it's possible. They need to know that the first thing to get something done is visualizing that what being done looks like. So I think to solve that pipeline, what the things that we can do as a community is actually seek out the people that have succeeded and reach out to them. Because I tell you one thing, that we have the social media is this double-edged sword of, you can waste an hour scrolling through memes and stuff like that, or you can actually, and I do this all the time, and I'm sure you do it as well. I go to LinkedIn and I look at, who do I know that works at Apple? Oh, okay, I have 10 people that are in my network, and I have 10 other people that are second level connections. Okay. Oh, wow. That person is Maria Garcia. I wonder where she's from. Let me ask her. Let me add her. Hey, I'm Hugo Castellanos. Great to meet you at your service here at Intel in the South Bay. So seek out those mentors and build relationships with them. I think that I wouldn't be here without the network of mentors that I've built throughout the years. So I think that the very actionable thing that we can do as a community is seek out those mentors. Use LinkedIn, use Facebook, use whatever social media you're at, because there's a community of us, of the Latinos in STEM, and we're out here and we are more than happy to help the next generation.
And full disclosure, my husband works at LinkedIn, and I love LinkedIn. Like it's been there for a while, but I have wonderful connections, and I think the thing about our community and those that are our allies is that if you ping them, the likelihood that they'll respond is really high. Unless they're like super duper busy. Even those that are really busy tend to reply with, "Oh, let me connect you with someone else," or "How this is how I can help."
Right.
So I it's not a full product endorsement, and like I said, my husband, full disclosure, works for LinkedIn, and but I just love the connections that we're able to make because they're also meaningful, and they're with
Right.
people that are either in the roles that you aspire to be in, or the roles in our case of people that we want to interview, or that are on their way. So and I always welcome people sending me notes. And I just had someone from DC that sent me a note via LinkedIn and said, "Oh, I really like your podcast, and this is what I want to do." And she wants to get into data science. And I said, "Well, I just interviewed, Jorge Garcia, who is a data scientist. Can I connect you both?" And she was like, "Yeah, absolutely. That would be wonderful." So in a way, we're making a difference. So and so thank you, LinkedIn. And let's move on to you. You said something earlier, which is, I want other people to know what people in different roles do at different companies. So Tell me a little bit about how one becomes a product manager. We heard your journey, but what's the traditional route, or maybe even the non-traditional route that someone can get to become a product manager?
So I'm really glad that you asked me that. And by the way, full disclosure, I love LinkedIn. I pay the $59.99 a month
I do too.
gladly, gladly. Yeah, and your husband works there, and
Yeah, and I
there's no
pay.
friends and right. There's no friends and family discount, though, I guess. So
Not that I've gotten, because I've been a premium member for the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And he's like, "Oh my God, you're always on LinkedIn." And I'm like,
yeah,
"Well," and now with LinkedIn Learning too, it's one of
it's
those things
fantastic.
where, yeah, I take courses, and I just feel like It's one of those things where you're always walking around with your headphones. If I'm working out or if I'm doing something, you see me on my iPad, like listening to some you know new trend that I should know about, how to
Right.
use or how to leverage social media or something. But let's talk about your
Sure.
product management.
Sure, sure. So, that's my first reaction when I don't know something. I is the first two thing is that who do I know that knows how to do it, and the second is there a Linda course or a LinkedIn course or anything? So I'm actually a product marketing manager. So what we have is that we have the product manager, that is the person that orchestrates how the programmers, designers, marketing people work together to ship a product. My role is I'm part of a competitive assessment team. So what I do is that when our competition ships out a product, I'm responsible for putting together a response guide for the field. So these are marketing people, salespeople. How can we counteract the claims from the competition? So I'm the one that, so it fits my personality perfectly because I'm a geek at heart. So I get to go through all the press releases and the data sheets and, okay, where did they make a mistake? Let me look through all the fine print. And I look at it like a game. And if I find that they
Hmm.
made a mistake in their technical data, I win because I can call them out on it in my response guide. So, hey, they ran this test, but actually they ran it at this temperature, and we know that the real user will use it. You wouldn't run your computer if it's negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. You'll probably be too cold to even think about turning on your computer. So, okay, so why are they running that test at that temperature level? It makes no sense. They're only doing it because they know they're going to perform better. So that's kind of a silly example, but it drives the point home that that's what I do. I actually find the narratives, analyze the data, and come up with the response plan, and then deliver it to the field. So I have webinars pretty much once, twice a month to 300, 400 salespeople. And
Hmm.
hey, these are the products that we're competing now against now. And this is the roadmap, the pipeline of products that are coming down. And this is the plan of action that we have. So I actually became one through the. So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I
Right.
was going to ask how you became one.
Of course, of course. So actually, I was part of this sales and marketing rotation program at Intel, and it's fantastic because what we do is that we do rotations through different teams. So 8 months to 12 months in different team, and I went through a product marketing team. I went through sales team doing data centered sales. I was covering Mexico, so I was on a plane to Mexico every 6 weeks. So Guadalajara, Monterrey, Mexico City, I pretty much I feel like I feel at home when I'm there because I so many friends and just colleagues there. And my one of my rotations was with this competitive marketing team, and I just fell in love with the sense of ownership that I had in the team. I remember that 2 months in, my manager, so hey Hugo, you speak Spanish, right? Uh, yes, of course, it's my native language. And you like presenting stuff, right? Yeah, I enjoy it. Okay, we're sending you to Panama for a week. We have 12 sessions to teach to these CEOs of companies down there and retailers. And I want you to do that with us. Okay, great. I've been doing this for 2 months. Sure, thank you. So it was that sense of ownership, that sense of opportunity. There is no traditional path to become a product marketing manager. I find that the people that thrive in these roles are usually people that have intellectual curiosity.
Hmm.
You are a lot of times, a lot of programmers and coders and people and electrical engineers like myself. A lot of us, I mean, we're in it because we love solving problems. But what happens is that to be a product marketing manager, you need to be able to solve the problem that's in front of you, but also
Hmm.
you need to ask questions and research about what's the future problems that are out there going to look like. So you have to be able to look at things in a very tactical level, what's going on in the market today, and also at a very strategic level. Oh, okay, company. Let's just throw some names. So, okay, Tesla just got that VP from Apple to join their board. Hmm,
Hmm.
what does that mean? What are they trying to put together? Because these executives, they make millions of dollars, and when you leave a company, you're walking away from 20-25 million dollars in stock that you're not going to get. So when you see movements like that in the industry, it's usually because there's something cooking in the back kitchen. And so it's having all those things straight. Actually, I like to think of also as I have a board in my cube in my office, and I have roadmaps of different companies, and almost like a conspiracy theory movie, like you connecting the dots of things. So intellectual curiosity is the main thing, and I find that the people that do this job are usually people that did a coverage, like
Hmm.
engineers that did a maternity coverage or a vacation coverage for somebody that was a PMM already, and they loved it. And most of my managers actually, this is their fourth, fifth job at Intel. So it's usually is that connection of having that intellectual curiosity, that technical background, and that love for finding out what the next big problem is.
What do you think of like product schools or some of those short-term learning, I guess, boot camps? Have you met anyone that has gone through those and are currently
Sure,
working with your team or?
of course, of course. Uh, yeah, so actually, I have one of my favorite episodes is episode 9 on my podcast. I interview a product manager from Apple. His name is Carlos Montesinos. He's from Ecuador, and he went through the product school because his background, he's a robotics engineer, but he wanted to become a product manager, and he was able to go through the program, very intense program, 3-month program, and he went through it, and he loved it. And I think that there's a place for that kind of schooling, especially for busy professionals. You
Mhm,
may have a day job, because we need to be realistic. Like it's not, it's very, I'm very fortunate and I'm very grateful for the fact that I can get another job in tech if I
mhm,
want to. I know people at different companies and people within different departments at Intel. I can call them up and work my way through a different job. But if I'm a working professional, let's say that I work at a at a school, or I have a regular job as an administrator or administrative assistant, like it's not realistic for me to tell them, "Hey, you should go to Stanford for computer science." While you work, like it's not
mhm,
realistic. So those short term programs that are like 3 months, 2 months, like Galvanize, Product School, General Assembly, I love them because they give you that really intense starting point, that really concentrated knowledge. And I find that if that's something that works for you, you should definitely pursue it. Granted, though, that it's a primer. What's going to make you a product manager is shipping products. So, for example, this podcast that you do, Adriana, it's a product. You go through a analysis of your audience, you study your audience. Okay, what do they want to listen to? and then what do I like to talk about, and what kind of people I like to connect. So you put all those things together, and I'm sure you have a roadmap of what episodes you want to release,
Mm-hmm.
and you have your list of dream guests that you want to bring. That okay someday,
Mm-hmm.
because right. So going through that feedback loop and shipping podcasts constantly, and then launching, measuring, learning, launching, measuring, learning. That's what's going to make you a product manager. It doesn't matter if you're doing a podcast or you do a blog or you make anything. That's how you become a product manager, by shipping products.
Thank you, Hugo. What have been some of the recurring themes that you've seen either in your professional life or in the stories of those that you have interviewed that, have come to light for you?
How do I get a job without experience? This is
Mm-hmm.
the big one. The other one is, how do I get a mentor? And the biggest one is, how do I manage up? How do I talk to my manager that is probably, again, I don't want to generalize, but in tech, your manager is probably 20 years older than you in some of these
Mm-hmm.
tech companies, and probably is from, it's probably not Hispanic or Latino, Latina, for the most part. So how do I how can I be authentic at work when my manager is so different than me?
Mm-hmm.
I find that those are recurring themes, and I particularly like the mentor one because it's the one that I find that a lot of people that I mentor, they've asked me that hey, Hugo, how do I actually get one? I don't know. Like I know that I need one, so that's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's step number one. You need one. You need a mentor. You need a sponsor. So using that mentor word, it's very loaded for some people. Some I like to think of dating analogies. It's like you've been talking with a, yeah, because like it's like
Don't
okay,
date your mentor, though. Don't date
no,
your
no, no,
mentor.
no, no. I'm not saying that. Like, if you go out on
Yeah.
a couple dates with somebody, like 3, 4 dates, and you ask them, like, okay, are we boyfriend, girlfriend, or what? What are we doing here? Eventually, you're gonna have that conversation. But that conversation turns off people a lot because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are afraid of commitment. So you don't ask people, hey, do you want to be my mentor? No, you ask them out for coffee. Hey, I would love to learn what you do. I'm actually starting a similar role at a more junior level. Do you mind if I buy you a cup of coffee? I'm open Thursday from 10 to 4, and I'm open all day Friday. So happy to meet you where you work and ask you 3, 5 questions. So doing those things and doing those things regularly and make it
Mm-hmm.
easy for them. Oh, you
Mm-hmm.
can only meet on the phone at 7 a.m. on Saturday? No problem. Happy to meet you. Sometimes they might say, hey, actually, I work in San Francisco. You're in San Jose. Do you mind coming here to my office? Happy to meet you. If that works easier for you, happy to meet you, happy to accommodate. So, and people realize that, people realize that, okay, because a lot of people want a slice of your time.
Mm-hmm.
So you put a couple tests along the way, and you realize that, wow, okay, this person really cares about building a mentor mentee relationship, and it's on you to keep track of them and keep that relationship warm. So for some people, coffee once a month works great. For some other people, you need to they're busier, so you need to talk with them quarterly. And it's not only about asking them stuff, it's also about giving them stuff. So I actually have a mentor here. He's a VP here at Intel, and he's really, really he's from Ohio, and he's really into he wants to learn Spanish. So every time that I see something interesting, like a new podcast to learn Spanish or a new phrase book, I send it his way. And I've actually met with him, and I coach him on, okay, these are the things that, okay, this is like different to like Mexican Spanish, and then the more neutral Spanish, and then, okay, are you going to Colombia for business? Okay, let me tell you the lingo and the importance of having lunch together, all those things. And he's a VP. So he coaches
Hmm.
me on public speaking, executive presence, how to write better emails. Because I find
Hmm.
that that's one of my areas that I need to work in. I'm too long-winded when I write, so I need to be more concise, more to the point. So it's a give and give.
Hmm.
One hand washes the other, and both wash the face. So we all help each other. So I find that finding the mentor, that's like the biggest theme, right, from my guests and from people that I work with.
So, for those of you listening out there, if you want to become a mentor, know that we're encouraging audience members and others to seek you, and we hope that you be
Happy
willing to
happy to do it.
give up your time.
Happy to do it. And the first thing that I ask the last thing that I ask my guests at the end of the interview is, are you okay if we share your LinkedIn information? Because more people need to learn about this. And 100% of the time they said yes. And now something really interesting has been going on because people have been writing them and writing me,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
now my guests are becoming connected between each other, and I'm
Hmm.
doing some really interesting stuff. My friend, and she was a guest, Luza Jaramillo. She's a IT manager at Electronic Arts, and she was at Grace Hopper conference in Houston a couple of weeks
I was
back.
there.
You were there, right?
Hmm.
And a few of my listeners went to the Electronic Arts booth just to meet her because they listened to her in the podcast. I'm like, wow, you're gonna be here too. Okay, I need to meet you. So they met her out there.
Yeah, I actually just interviewed someone yesterday that I met at Grace Hopper, and um, she had listened to my podcast and was really excited. And she's like, "Let's meet up at the exhibitors hall," and it was just very rewarding to kind of meet
It
listeners
is.
and also to connect them with others, and provide some advice. So now let's go back to yourself. I know that you're a mentor to others, but what helps you develop professionally? What keeps you motivated or active? Are there any practices that you or rituals that you follow?
So I'm a huge fan of this methodology called getting things done.
Hmm.
It was started by David Allen. He's a productivity coach, writer, speaker, really interesting guy. He developed this system of tracking your projects
Hmm.
and essentially planning how you get everything done. It sounds very simplistic, but it's built in some very powerful ideas. Like, your mind is great for having ideas, but not for holding them.
Hmm.
So never keep anything in your head. You got an idea, write it down. You have an inbox of stuff. Then every day, process that inbox. What's relevant for today, what needs to get done today, this week, this month. And so I've been practicing that for the last 4 years, and people can Google search his methodology. It's very, very rewarding, very straightforward. um, I'm a huge fan of mindfulness and the
Hmm.
fact that we are being present, having a one-on-one conversation. So I make a point also of, and this is part of GTD, that I always have a notebook in my wallet. So I'm showing you my wallet now, and it has a notebook in it and a
Yes.
pen. So I make a point of, if you say something interesting, you recommend me a book, I pull out my notebook and I write it down. I don't go to my phone because I find it disrespectful in a way that, uh, that if we're having a conversation, we're enjoying each other's company, we're learning from each other. I should give you my full undivided attention.
Hmm.
That's why. So that's been helping me a lot. And another practice that's been really helpful for me is every day I have 90 minutes to 2 hours that I
Hmm.
block in my calendar for deep work. And what do I mean by deep work? It means that I actually shut off my email on my phone and I just get stuff done. Some people call it the power hour, but it's essentially finding that time of day because we're all again like I serve people that are working in sales and marketing and engineering, so I need to be
Mm-hmm.
connected. They ping me, they send me a WhatsApp, I need to answer them. But there's always a 1 hour and a half block of time where I'm
Mm-hmm.
just working, just getting stuff done. And I find that I do my highest quality of work in that time. So I've been doing that for I want to say a couple years, and it's worked wonders for me. It's work and being respectful to it in the sense that if you're a morning person, I'm not, but if you're a morning person, okay, 7 to 8:30, no calls, no meetings, just work, focus on the
Mm-hmm.
important things. And then the last one that I am a huge fan of is planning your day the night before. So
Mm-hmm.
actually, I look at my list of projects and to dos at every day at 8 p.m. And I look at my schedule for the next day. I look, okay, who do I need to meet? Or do I need to commute there? And just write down the list for the day of things that I need to get done. So last
Mm-hmm.
night I had a to do that. Okay, let me review the notes for the podcast. Let me
Mm-hmm.
actually pack my microphone. Let me, all those things. And that way, when I woke up, I just look at my list and everything's sorted out. So I don't need to make more decisions in the morning, and everything just flows smoothly. So those are the practices that help me.
So
It's
you're a
definitely
planner.
I
The
am.
great planning helps. Let's move on to a couple of last questions. Any influencers that you follow or that you would recommend that we follow, or learning resources, and also what's in store for you? What's your next play?
I love the next play concept. I can tell that LinkedIn is big in your household. I can tell. So as far as influencers, that's a really good one. I'm a huge fan of Max Sparky. Max Sparky is he's a lawyer and an Apple nerd. I've
Mhm,
been an Apple user since I was 5 years old. So I'm a huge fan of the platform and the company and the products they put out. So Max Sparky is the one that every time that I need to figure something out, how to use a piece of software in Mac, he has either a free guide on it. He's on top of the new releases. So Max Sparky is one of them. David
mhm,
Sparks is his name. He's also a podcaster. I'm a huge fan of Melvin Rivera Velasquez via podcast.
mhm, mhm,
Everything I've learned about podcasting, I've learned through him, and
mhm,
super thankful for all the content he puts out there. Those are the two big
mhm.
ones in that area.
That you're following.
Hmm. And as far as the next play, I think that my next play is to become. I consider myself a leader of others. I've
Mhm,
always been the one that when there's a task force that needs to be led, I step up to
mhm,
the plate and I become their manager of this team of 3, 4, 5 people for 1 month. We get it done, we ship it. Cool. What's next?
mhm.
Next step, I actually want to become a people manager. I actually
Oh,
want to become a people manager in my organization, and it's a conversation that I've had with leaders and managers of my organization. So actually, I got an intern this summer,
mhm,
and I did the whole thing from the hiring process, interviewing people, and the coaching. The fact that you
mhm,
teach them stuff and they get it, and then they do something amazing. They surprise you. Sometimes they fall off the rail, and you need to help them correct. I love it. I love it. And my manager noticed that and it's like, Hugo, okay, uh, you're in charge of hiring now for the team because we got the best intern ever. I gave him what I thought it was a week's worth of work on
mhm,
Monday morning. Tuesday after
mhm.
lunch, he shows up. Hugo, I'm done. What's next?
Oh,
So really really happy for him. So that's my next play. I want like to lead a team. So that's what I'm preparing myself to do. So next
Good to
cycle,
have.
next year, I that's my goal.
Thank you, Hugo. And I'm looking forward to continuing to listen to Conexiones and just staying in touch with you because you're an inspiration and you're
Thank you.
doing things professionally and personally to advance our community. So I thank you for your time and for sharing your wisdom this today with us. And once again, I look forward to continuing conversations with you.
Thank you, Adriana. We will definitely stay in touch, and thank you for sharing all these stories about people in tech and how others can get there.
Tú también. Hasta pronto.
Hasta pronto. Gracias.
Hugo's a great communicator, and I'm sure that he and I will be working in joint projects in the future. Well, let's continue with key terms for the episode, which in this case is rotational programs. And Hugo referred to his experience in a rotational program and how it really helped them get to where he is today at Intel. I actually Googled and I found different sources and definitions, but the one I like the most and the one that I'm citing today is from cleverism.com. And it describes a rotational program as a human resources strategy in which organizations move around employees from one job to another. And under the program, the employee will work in different positions within the organization instead of spending all their time in a single position. In specific situations, it can help identify the best people for specific positions as their employees are being tested and their skills are being developed in different roles. Job rotation typically is done either within a department or a team, but there are occasions in which it can also be done within the entire organization. In these cases, the switch can take place between departments, and it really depends on the type of organization that is doing this rotational program. Primarily, these job rotational programs are used to identify, assess, and develop the organization's talent readiness because it nurtures future talent and it cross-trains employees. In the case of Hugo, once again, he went from being an engineer and trying out different roles during his rotational program at Intel, and he really found a passion for product marketing, which is where he is today. And it also allowed him to develop contacts that led him to his current position. Once again, part of the definition was found on cleverism.com, and you can visit their site to read the full article that they have on rotational programs. Also, don't forget to rate our podcast in whatever platform that you're using to listen to Latinx America. And let us know if the content and the guests that you're hearing are helping you in some way. We are a storytelling type of podcast, and we also want to capture your story. So do let us know. And the best way to let us know is by leaving a comment on, once again, whatever platform you use to listen to our podcast.
Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Latinx America and on Twitter at America Latinx, or email any questions or ideas to latinxamerica@gmail.com. Gracias y hasta la próxima semana.